The final weeks of the year often carry a certain electricity, a quiet hum of expectation that settles over households as people begin to look toward the turning of the calendar. In many living rooms, that anticipation takes on a practical shape as beneficiaries of Social Security try to understand what the last payments of the year will look like. Especially when rumors begin to circulate about shifting schedules, potential extra checks, and the shadow of a new cost of living adjustment waiting to reveal its real impact. As December approaches, the questions grow louder, weaving through conversations like threads of curiosity. Will there be three checks? Will the timing shift? Will the adjustment make any noticeable difference in daily life? What begins as a simple inquiry becomes a story about how millions of people try to navigate the complex, often confusing workings of a system that feels both essential and opaque at the same time. No month shines a spotlight on this tension quite the way December does. Normally, everything moves with a predictable rhythm that repeats itself year after year. The first wave of beneficiaries receives payments at the start of the month, followed by two more waves that arrive according to birthdays, carved neatly into the calendar like familiar landmarks. But as winter settles in, some years bring a twist that unsettles the routine. Holidays interrupt the usual flow. Weekends shift expected dates forward. And suddenly, the search for clarity becomes urgent. Families who rely on each payment to map out groceries, prescriptions, heating bills, and every other necessity feel that urgency in a visceral way. The thought of an extra check, or even the possibility of one, sends a ripple of hope, anxiety, and curiosity echoing through countless conversations. People want to understand exactly what is coming, because certainty itself can feel like a gift amid so much unpredictability. The idea of receiving three checks in 1 month is almost magical on the surface, the kind of rumor that travels fast because of how deeply it speaks to real needs. But the truth behind it is more nuanced. Some years, the calendar aligns in a way that shifts payments forward, causing 2 months' worth of certain benefits to land inside the same month, giving the appearance of a bonus even though it is simply a scheduling effect. People remember those years vividly because those moments left an imprint on household routines, allowing a little extra breathing room right before the holidays. The memory of that relief lingers long after the calendar returns to its usual shape, and each December reignites the question, will it happen again? Will the timing grant a rare moment of financial ease during a season when every dollar seems to stretch just a little too thin? Even if December doesn't bring an extra check, it often carries a different kind of impact as people begin to look toward the incoming cost of living adjustment. There is a particular mood that surrounds COLA announcements, a blend of anticipation and skepticism. On one hand, there is the knowledge that rising prices must be acknowledged somehow. Groceries that once felt affordable turned into small extravagances. Medications that were predictable began to shift unpredictably. Even electricity, fuel, and everyday essentials took on a sharper edge as inflation moved through the economy. Knowing that a new COLA is coming offers a sense that the system is at least trying to keep up, that the challenges people have been whispering about around kitchen tables are being heard somewhere. Yet there is also an awareness that these adjustments rarely feel like they fully match the lived reality of rising costs. People understand this instinctively. They can feel it every time they stand at a checkout counter and watch totals climb with cool indifference. The COLA for the upcoming year, calculated based on changes in inflation, becomes a focal point in December because it represents both hope and limitation. It is hope because it carries the possibility of cushion, even if small. It is limitation because it rarely feels transformative. And when news breaks each year about how large or modest the increase will be, households begin the quiet work of imagining how that number will shape the months to come. They picture prescriptions, food, rent, utilities. They map out whether the adjustment will ease the pressure or simply slow the pace at which the pressure grows. COLA becomes not just a statistic, but a mirror reflecting both the challenges and resilience of millions of people who navigate the economics of daily life with careful attention and constant adaptation. As the month progresses, the relationship beneficiaries have with Social Security begins to feel especially personal. December has a way of magnifying every detail. The weight of the season presses down on budgets that already feel stretched. People become more aware of the exact day a payment is due, the exact time it usually arrives, the exact expenses waiting in line the moment it shows up. That awareness can be intense, but it also reveals the quiet strength in so many households. Managing a fixed income requires skill, calculation, and patience. It turns each payment into a puzzle piece that has to fit just right. When that puzzle gets disrupted, when a holiday pushes a payment earlier or a weekend shifts the date, beneficiaries adapt with impressive steadiness. But they need information to do it. And December becomes the month when that information matters more than ever. The conversation about whether there will be 3 checks also opens a window into how interconnected these payment timelines really are. Many beneficiaries don't receive 3 payments in December unless they belong to specific groups whose schedules interact with the calendar in a very particular way. Supplemental security income, for example, often shifts around holidays, leading to early payments that can create the illusion of a bonus. When the first of the month lands on a weekend or holiday, SSI benefits move backward onto the nearest business day. If that happens at the edge of a changing year, one payment may slide into December even though it is technically meant for January. This subtle shift creates excitement, confusion, and conversations that ripple through communities as everyone tries to understand whether it's an early gift or simply a rearrangement of the normal cycle. Nothing is lost or gained in the long term, but the immediate experience of having 2 SSI payments within the same calendar month feels meaningful, especially during a time of year when so many people need just a little more room to breathe. Meanwhile, traditional retirement, disability, and survivor benefits tend to follow a more predictable schedule tied to birthdays, meaning the chance of receiving 3 checks in December is far less common. Yet the perception that it might happen persists because people sense that the system has layers, exceptions, and small intricacies that not everyone fully understands. It's not unusual to hear neighbors talking animatedly across fences or friends comparing payment dates during a phone call, each trying to assemble the puzzle from personal experience. This process of collective interpretation becomes a ritual of sorts, a shared search for clarity that reveals not confusion but connection. People want to know because they care deeply about how to make their finances stretch, and when answers come, they become part of the fabric of community knowledge, passed along and kept alive through each winter. Into this landscape enters the emotion surrounding the COLA increase. Even before it takes effect in January, beneficiaries begin imagining its influence on daily life. They picture how much their checks might change, how far that adjustment will really go, and whether it will feel like a boost or simply a maintenance mechanism. Each year, the COLA number becomes a symbol of the broader economic story, whether inflation is cooling, heating, or settling into an uneasy middle ground. People talk about it at grocery stores after noticing rising prices on shelves. They talk about it during doctor's visits when discussing prescription costs. They talk about it with family members who want to know how older relatives or those living with disabilities are managing. The COLA isn't just an adjustment. It is a pulse check on the world beyond the front door. December brings the swirl of all these elements together. The payment schedules, the potential early checks, the COLA anticipation, and places them under the bright lens of year-end reflection. People start evaluating their year through the subtle shifts of financial stability, thinking about how far their payments carried them and where challenges remain stubborn. Some feel grateful for managing better than expected. Some feel weighed down by the sense that they were always a few steps behind. And many feel a mixture of both, recognizing that life with a fixed income is a balance of resilience and vulnerability. The Social Security system becomes part of that emotional landscape, not just a bureaucratic entity, but a companion that shapes daily choices and rhythms. The emotional dimension deepens when families gather for the holidays. Conversations naturally drift toward money, not because people want to focus on finances during celebrations, but because the shifting economic landscape is impossible to ignore. Around dinner tables, people ask questions about when payments are arriving in December, whether relatives have heard anything new about the COLA, whether rumors of early checks are true. There is comfort in sharing these questions together. It reinforces a sense of solidarity, a recognition that everyone is navigating the same system and seeking the same clarity. Even the smallest answers, like confirming the exact payment date or explaining the reason an SSI deposit arrives early can turn into moments of relief that settle over a room like warmth. This shared curiosity reflects a deeper truth. Social Security is not just a policy. It is woven into the emotional and practical fabric of everyday life. The more people understand how it shifts in December, the more empowered they feel entering the new year. And that empowerment matters because it allows households to plan more effectively. December is a month when budgets stretch and shrink with dizzying speed. Gifts, travel, extra meals, unexpected winter expenses. All of these tug at the same limited resources. When people know whether a payment will arrive early or how much the COLA will adjust their January deposit, they regain a sense of control during a season that often feels financially precarious. As the month unfolds, the knowledge of these payment dynamics begins to settle into people's routines. Some feel reassured knowing that their payment arrives earlier due to the calendar. Others take comfort in understanding that the system is functioning normally, even if no extra checks appear. Those awaiting the COLA feel a quiet sense of anticipation, imagining how the new adjustment will feel when the first deposit of the new year lands. It becomes an emotional touchstone, a moment when the abstract concept of inflation and adjustment becomes tangible. People can look at their bank balance and see the difference, small though it may be, and understand that the system is responding to the economic realities they've been living all year. All the complexity surrounding Social Security payments in December highlights the way people crave clarity in a world that often feels unpredictable. The system does its work through formulas and schedules, but the people it serves live in a world of grocery receipts, medical appointments, heating bills, and unexpected expenses. December becomes the month when those two worlds intersect in the most dramatic fashion. Beneficiaries pay closer attention, not out of fear, but out of necessity. And in doing so, they reveal the profound relationship between policy and lived experience. Social Security is more than a deposit. It is a lifeline that allows millions to shape their daily lives with some measure of security. The details matter because lives are built around them. The unfolding story of December payments, the possibility of 3 checks, and the reality of the COLA adjustment creates a narrative that is both deeply practical and deeply human. It is the story of how people seek stability, how they adapt to the rhythms of a system that influences their everyday existence, and how the smallest shifts in timing or amount can carry enormous significance. By the time the month draws to a close, the fog of confusion clears, and the landscape becomes easier to navigate. People know when their payments are coming. They understand whether December will bring an early deposit. They can look at the new COLA and see exactly how it will shape their January check. That clarity becomes a quiet source of strength, allowing them to enter the new year not with uncertainty, but with a sense of readiness. In the final days of December, when the world seems to pause for breath and reflect on everything that has happened, the importance of understanding these payment shifts feels even more powerful. Beneficiaries carry that understanding with them into January, ready for the first deposit of the year and the first glimpse of the COLA increase. The landscape ahead may still be challenging. Prices may still change. Unexpected needs may still arise. But the knowledge gained during this month becomes a steady anchor. It allows people to plan, to breathe, and to step into the new year with the sense that they are not navigating these challenges alone. They have information, clarity, and the resilience that comes from facing uncertainty with a clear-eyed understanding of the path ahead.